Of the many pieces in the Brodsky collection at Southeast Missouri State University, the second part of a Life article titled The Man Behind the Faulkner Myth by Robert Coughlin is among Brodsky's top 100, and for good reason. The magazine itself brings us back to 1953 through a series of ads that speak to the increasingly popularized culture of the time. William Faulkner, who was born September 25, 1897, had already lived the majority of his life before the rise in pop culture. By the time this article was published, he had just turned 56. So much of American culture was shifting toward one built on mass consumption, and Faulkner, perhaps, was wary of it. The consumption of media, especially, may have been a shock, as it seemed to rebuke what had been a very private America. Or maybe he was shocked because of, well, other things. Ultimately, the world was changing before him. The article itself talks about Faulkner's general life and work and ends with the announcement of his Nobel Prize, which sounds nice enough. But small details that were included paint Faulkner in a less than flattering light. Coughlin describes the child Faulkner as withdrawn from reality and calls him Billy, and while that's not necessarily an insult, it does sound a little odd. Coughlin's description of the adult Faulkner, however, is even more interesting. He paints him as a strange, rude character, saying the townspeople thought him a lunatic, and his family snobbish. The article discusses his fluctuating finances and his difficulties with alcoholism, both very personal details for a man who still had many years left to live. Moreover, the first part of the article, which does not appear in this edition, published a picture of his aging mother. While we can't know for sure how Faulkner felt about such changes, we have a pretty good guess how he felt about this article. Letters he wrote to close friend and editor Phil Stone give us a good idea. I tried for years to prevent it, refused always, asked them to let me alone. It's too bad the individual in this country has no protection from journalism, I suppose they call it. But apparently he hasn't. There seems to be in this the same spirit which permits strangers to drive into my yard and pick up books or pipes I left in the chair where I had been sitting as souvenirs. What a commentary. Sweden gave me the Nobel Prize. France gave me the Legion d'Honneur. All my native land did for me was to invade my privacy over my protest and my plea. No wonder people in the rest of the world don't like us, since we seem to have neither taste nor courtesy, and know and believe in nothing but money, and it doesn't matter how much you get it. And this time I wasn't even consulted, didn't even know it was being done, nor did my mother. She knew she was being photographed and specifically asked the photographer not to print the picture anywhere. This seems to me to be a pretty sorry return for a man who has only tried to be an artist and bring what honor that implies to the land of his birth. And lastly, to his friend Phil Stone, thank you for calling and giving me that much warning. I can't stop this one coming here and asking questions about my private life, any more than I was able to stop the ones from life. I may not be able to do this, but I will try. Tell him he must not worry my mother. She is too old to have to suffer this sort of thing. The ones from life told her lies in order to get into her house, pry into her privacy. If this happens again, I will help this one make some news indeed. I realize it is not his, the individual reporter's, fault. He must accept the assignment or risk being fired, probably. What a pass have we come to that one of the most terrifying things in modern American life is what they call freedom of the press. One individual can defend himself from another individual's freedom and liberty, but when big, powerful, moneyed organizations confederate under shibboleths and catchwords like liberty and democracy and religion, within the structure of which the individual practitioners are automatically freed of any moral responsibility whatever, then God help us, we damn sure need it. Hope to see you when you come up. Faulkner's take on the article is more than clear through these letters. A new America had risen while he was writing about a dying one. Perhaps, just like the decay of the Old South, he is better off left behind.